ladies and gentlemen, this is KMB, the Sexy Ninja.
And I'm Flix.
And it is 20 fucking years. 20 years since Star Wars Episode 1 hit the theaters.
Makes those that grew up with the prequels seem like old people, don't it?
Oh, yes, indeed. I was 10 years old when that movie came out.
9.
My goodness. I remember the buzz. I remember Taco Bell was doing something for it. They had toys galore because this was when Star Wars, everyone's like, oh, Star Wars is back! Star Wars is back! People were camping out weeks, months before this movie even came out. What do you remember growing up, like the buzz about it?
The thing is, I grew up with the original trilogy a lot, and when the new ones came out, I just remember the trailers for it, and then not really much after that was the problem. Like, it was hyped. It was one of those things that everyone was looking forward to it, but I was young, you know.
Would you put it on that level of Avengers Endgame? Because it's something that no one thought we were going to get more Star Wars.
Yes, but everyone knew we were getting more Avengers. So that's why it was so hyped. Like Star Wars was a different thing where they had to wait 30 years between that, like the Return of the Jedi and the Phantom Menace. I keep forgetting names right now.
I was going to say.
But no, between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace was 30 years of pretty much nothing. Like, there was so much content released, but none of it for the major audiences. There was books, like...
Yeah, and that's what, like, I remember the buzz was the Thrawn trilogy. Mm-hmm. That's what really was, I was like, oh, Star Wars is live. #1 bestseller, a Star Wars book, you know. Then George announcing Phantom Menace, and I remember I went to the premiere. I was in a Jedi cloak with a homemade lightsaber out of paper.
That's what happens when you grow up poor.
Yeah, my mom's like, no, you ain't gonna have a real lightsaber.
You can buy them now for like $5.
I know.
You know.
Well, do you remember when you couldn't even find T-shirts? You couldn't find.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. So Endgame is a cultural phenomenon that people have been with for the last 10 years, where Star Wars was starting to fall out. Like, there were the hardcore fans of the original trilogy and the people that had their children growing up with that. But as a popular culture sort of thing, it really wasn't. Like, it had a really big hit from the fans of, hey, this is coming out, you know, get excited about this. But if you were the popular kids who thought they were too cool for everything, who cares? It's Star Wars, it's a nerd thing.
Oh, yeah, I remember, like, talking to my classmates and being like, Star Wars, I get more Star Wars. Episode 1, the special editions came out. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. But it was like Star Wars galore, like, you know, growing up on these movies, especially the OG trilogy, and realizing I'm going to get 3 more movies. Sweet! Mm-hmm. And I remember that night, I was excited. I had my cups from Taco Bell. Like, I had one with young Anakin in the pod. And I had another one. I had my little brother had the Jar Jar Binks one because we're like, Jar Jar Binks, yeah, he's gonna be cool. Then we all saw the movie.
Yeah. So to that, the best thing that came out of that movie to me was the pod racing video game for the N64, and that big pod racer thing they had at our theater for a long time.
Oh my goodness, that was like just jumping in. It was like the Batmobile.
Yeah,
remember they had like at a Peter Piper Pizza way in that corner. You just jump in like a Batman.
Yeah.
Then you jump in like a mannequin, and I hate sand.
Yeah. Well, that hadn't happened yet.
I know that hasn't happened yet.
And I feel like we all should have been had our expectations kind of clipped down for the second and third one after that first one. Because the thing was, though, the first one was actually initially perceived well. Like, not by fans, but by, like, critics and stuff like that. It was, oh, this movie's everything that a Star Wars fan could ever want. And then Star Wars fans started seeing it, and they're just like...
They're like, wait a minute, hold on. Misa? Misa don't think so.
Well, okay, so, and to that, though... Star Wars, each time it's been re-released, and this is including The Force Awakens, it's not aimed towards the fans anymore. It's aimed towards a new audience. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's why Force Awakens just kind of copies a lot of the things of the old one, where, you know, it's, old fans will appreciate it, but young fans will be able to get into it.
Well, you know, looking back 20 years when the film was released, I was 10. I wasn't as critical as, you know, most kids
No, well, nobody's really...
At 10 years old,
Nobody's born cynical outside of me.
I walked out of that theater and I was just like, Darth Maul! That pod racing scene, I remember just being giddy for joy. And Jar Jar didn't bother me until I became an older man.
Well, Jar Jar only became worse as time went on. Like, he was really aimed towards us as a kid, as, being a stupid idiot who bumbles into everything and steps in poop. Like, that's a 10-year-old's funniest thing they can imagine. But when you grow older, you're just like, he doesn't mature with everything. Although that's really true for everyone outside the Jedis of the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm. And, and I remember how terrible Yoda looked in that first. They redid it now. Like, they actually cut out that puppet, and they actually put the CG Yoda that we see now in the digital editions. And,
like, the two coolest parts of the movie, I really still do like the pod race. Like, that pod race, if you just, like, mute this movie whenever Anakin's on the screen... Because I'm sorry, but that person who was Anakin, his voice was the most annoying thing ever.
And his career actually just...
Well, when you start out with a car crash, you're not going to go much further beyond that.
And the poor gentleman who played Jar Jar, he knew what he signed up for.
Here's the thing: nobody really knows about him anymore, though. So he's fine. He's a lot better than the dude who played Anakin.
Well, you heard all the dark things that happened with him, right? Mm. Yeah. So, but that's fandom, and, sometimes we attack. It's just like The Last Jedi. The critical, like, bashing of Rose, I would say is the modern-day Jar Jar, in a sense.
Which the difference between then and now, though, is social media wasn't such a huge thing, where if it was, I'm sure that at least one of those kid who played Anakin or the kid who played Jar Jar would have taken their own life. Like, I know that's morbid. But I'm just saying, like, with how harsh, like, people were about that, if social media had been, like, a big thing like it was now. Because it made the chick who played Rose, like, quit the internet, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Like, she deleted her Instagram, her Twitter, her Facebook. Like, she deleted all of that because of how much harassment she was getting from it. And that's because this is something that's so sacred and to a lot of people. And we already saw what happened with The Phantom Menace. Where when fans talk about what order you should watch the movies in, they're just like 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. Like, you skip 1. 1 is the movie that you're just like, nope, I don't need it.
I did a big rewatch for my birthday last year. Mm-hmm. I honestly can say, I think I told you, you looked at me like I was crazy, but I felt like the prequels kind of aged okay. Not well or super great, but I think they aged okay enough to where I can accept it.
See, I think the coolest thing about the prequels, in each of the movies of the prequels, was there was at least one really kick-ass lightsaber fight. And the music score was done real well. Like, the fact that we know Duel of Fates is the name of that song that goes over the end shows how important and how cool that song is. We remember the name of a score.
For celebration of today, I went through my CD collection, pulled out episode 1, the soundtrack, and I've been blasting it all day because that Duel of
it's that layered over the fact you get this kick-ass battle between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul, which again a problem is Qui-Gon was not used enough. Like, Qui-Gon is such a badass where you're just like, I want more on this character.
And on that, you got Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson, who's coming off Schindler's List. He's coming off all these, he's becoming a bona fide star. Mm. And you're like, he's in the first movie. By the way, he dies. And spoilers,
20 years later, it's not a spoiler.
I was going to say.
It's like saying Soylent Green is people. Like, that doesn't...
You imagine the comments like, what?
Yeah. But regardless, no. It was a phenomenon, but it taught me to, like, check my expectations at the door for a lot of things. Because, like, it gave me a sour taste going into the second one, which Hayden Christensen was a terrible Anakin, in my opinion. He doesn't seem like he's a bad guy. I just don't think that was the role for him.
I felt like he finally got into the role in episode 3. Like, towards the end. Like, towards the end, I was just like, I love Anakin. But it's just like, all the build-up with episode 2 and the weird creepiness with him and Padme. Yeah. Like, no chemistry whatsoever. We got more chemistry than they did on screen.
I mean, our wives tell us not to fuck, so...
Yeah, that's our only boundary.
Cuddling is allowed. But it's in the third one, the only time that he actually becomes, like, tolerable is when he's fighting Obi-Wan, but that's because his whining is what he's supposed to be doing. All the time before that, he's just whining constantly. Plus the sand.
Oh, wait, can I recreate that scene real quick? Hold on, he's like...
Yeah.
Just a touch at the back, like, hi.
Just like space maced.
Well, yeah, I really wanted to do this video to celebrate 20 years of episode 1. If I had to rate it now, like, because it's in recent memory, I have seen it. It's on TV all the time now, too. So I would say 3 out of 5.
What is it with you and constantly switching?
3, 5, 10. I always forget. I got so many things going on. I got 5 whoops out of 5 whoops. I got 5 chimichangas out of 5 chimichangas. I got so many rating scales. I'm just going to stick to the 5.
See, and here's the reason on Popflix we can't stay consistent.
Yeah.
See, and I haven't seen it in a bit, but the parts that I do remember are good outside of the space battles. Like, that seems so weird that a Star Wars movie would have bad space battles. But the battle over Naboo, like the first one when they're taking off, all it is them just getting shot at constantly.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, wait, there's a desert planet we need to go to.
Yeah. No, and then the second time, we have a bunch of red shirts in Anakin. Like, there's nobody important up there except for Anakin, who stumbles his way to defeating a droid army. Like... There's no fun in that. At least in the third movie, when it starts,
he's like,
he's a competent fighter, and there's a reason they're doing what they're doing. It's not just, let's try turning. Come on!
Oh, R2 override the system.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably give it like a 2 out of 10. Just, I mean, like, if you, especially, no movie can't go without comparison to the ones that it's a part of a series of. Mm. And it's definitely, like, one of the lowest 3 in that.
And I think it's just because I've had my marathon, and I did it all in order.
I mean, I did a Marvel marathon. That doesn't necessarily mean any of them really endured that.
If I had to pick, episode 3 is my go-to. Like, if I had to pick one of the prequels to be like, oh, I want to watch Star Wars, but like the prequels are a choice, I'd be like, I'll throw on episode 3.
See, I don't know. It is 3 or 2. But 2 just has the really kick-ass part with all the Jedi on Geonosis.
Yeah, just wah!
And then, like, Jango Fett actually being a badass, like, so his son can just not be quite that badass.
And now, thanks to George Lucas, I know about politics.
Yeah. That was the first one. That was, yeah. But thank you for having me on this, though.
Thank you, my friend. 20 years of Star Wars. Well, Star Wars Episode 1.
Like 50 years of Star Wars.
Like 50 years of Star Wars, but 20 years from Episode 1. Celebrate. Go watch it if you want. I'm bumping the soundtrack in my car, and we are celebrating as well. So, I am KMB, the Sexy Ninja.
And I'm Flix.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, like and subscribe.